And earlier this year, Boom Supersonic's XB-1 passenger jet achieved a successful test flight, becoming the first civilian-produced aircraft to break the sound barrier.
And she's airborne. Wow, that was fantastic. Doesn't she look gorgeous? Especially when the gear's up, she looks an absolutely beautiful airplane. And in the pilot's world, we say that if an aircraft looks right, she'll fly right. And XB-1 certainly looks right.
The aircraft reached an altitude of 34,000 feet before accelerating to the speed of sound. Boom Supersonic hopes to become the first supersonic passenger jet airline since the retired British-French Concorde. Sam Hammond from the Foundation of American Innovation joined us to unpack the significance of the test flight.
The history of air travel in the world is really going from the Wright brothers to fighter jets within a generation or two, and air speeds also led in that trajectory. So Concorde was a government-led initiative with Britain and France, and so one of the initial problems with the Concorde was designed by committee. It was a government-backed venture, state-owned enterprise. They only ever produced 14 planes, so they never actually iterated. And while the Concorde flew for 27 years, its final flight was in 2003. Tickets were $20,000 a pop. The plane normally flew half full, so it was a technological success but a commercial failure. And there has yet to be, until Boom, a real private sector civil supersonic aircraft to pick up where the Concorde left off.
We also discussed some of the regulatory hurdles that have impacted supersonic travel and what's recently changed.
The natural entry point for a private supersonic jet would have been business travel. And most business travel occurs over land. And supersonic jets produce a sonic boom. And so in 1973, the FAA in the United States banned civil supersonic over land in fear that it produced sonic booms and caused disturbances. This is effectively cut off the natural market entry point for a private sector initiative, in the same way that Tesla first built the Roadster and only later came out with the Model 3. You need to start with that high-class clientele that will pay the premium to fly supersonic, but without overland being an option, the market couldn't provide. Boom is initially going to be targeting transoceanic flight routes, so San Francisco to Beijing to Tokyo, New York to London. And you can anticipate when their plane, the Overture, finally comes to market, that those routes will see their travel time cut in half. And Boom is targeting a price comparable to business class today. Now, the overland issue is, so Boom didn't go into this industry planning to ever fly their plane over land. But in recent tests with their XB-1 demonstrator project, the first test flight, they discovered that actually there was no boom. And the reason there was no boom is because it turns out that under certain conditions and at certain altitudes, the boom will refract and never reach the ground. And so the loud clap that you would hear if a sonic boom flying over is a non-issue. And in addition to this, there are technologies around so-called low boom airplane designs, where you can modify the shape of the wing, the shape of the body, and the nature of the engine to dampen the sonic boom effect and potentially get it down from something that sounds like a thunderclap to a car door slamming. So research and development into those kind of low boom technologies would require the FAA overturning the ban on supersonic overland, so that the private sector actually knows that the technology has a market to begin with. But in lieu of that, we're going to have supersonic, at least for over the ocean, and maybe one day also for overland. Yeah, so Boom just did their first test flight of the XB-1, which was a demonstrator plane, so a one-seater, two-seater with a co-pilot. Their plans are to produce the Overture, their full-scale airliner that will seat probably 30 to 40 people within the next 2 to 4 years. They already have purchase orders from companies like United, and so there's a chance that this decade we will have supersonic.